welcome. Today's video is a review on the Xiegu G90 radio. And I'm calling this an honest review because I'm being 100% honest about my thoughts on this radio. And, so yeah, I guess all that's left is to just dig right into the video. So, let's get started here. And, I did this really fancy. I even made a script for it. So, first off, let's go over the facts. This is a 160 to 10 meter transceiver. It has a 500 kilohertz to 30 megahertz receiver, and it goes right up to 30 megahertz. None of that 29.999 megahertz crap. It goes right up to 30 megahertz. It does single sideband, lower sideband and upper sideband, CW and AM, and it can also do FM with the soon-to-be-released Xiegu GSOC pan adapter, which is a really nice thing from the photos. I wish I could get my hands on one, but there's a rumor spreading around about how the GSOC or the GSOC adds 6 meter capability, but that is 100% false. They never even claimed that anywhere. I don't know why that. Who came up with that? Why or what? And I want to get in contact with Radioddity. I tried once before, but I didn't. And I want to see if there's any way I can get a GSOC because I really want to do a review of it. I want to go as in depth with it as I can. I really want to test everything about it, and I even want to compare it to my own GSOC that I'm working on, and that will be a video that's coming out soon that I'm working on. I just gotta wait for AliExpress. I've said too much. That's gonna be a fun video. Check that out once it comes out, so stay tuned. But yeah, I hope this video does well, so please like, share, and subscribe, and comment, and do whatever, because, and it sounds stupid, and I know everybody says that, but it really helps this channel get out and going, and I really like people watching my videos. I know this is only the second video on this channel, but I'm trying to do this as professional as I can. It seems that that's doing well. The last video did pretty good for being up for like less than 24 hours, and it did better than most of my YouTube videos do. Why is this light blinking? I don't know if it keeps showing across the video or not. Anyways, so yeah, so it also outputs 20 watts with a maximum current draw of 8 amps. I think it draws about half an amp, a quarter of an amp, somewhere in that range. I don't remember exactly. When it's on standby, or not standby, but idling, and it's really good. It's really good at not wasting power. You can press the power button once and the display turns off, or you can press the lock button a few times. I know it's not angled up. You can press the lock button. This one right here. The lock button's right there. Whoops, right there. You can press that and it changes the screen brightness. It doesn't save it though, so if you turn off the radio and you turn it back on, it's back at full brightness. So now we're just gonna go straight into my opinions about this radio, and these are my honest opinions, no biasing. This is a radio I've had it for about a month or so, a little bit over a month now, and I've been using it a lot, and these are my honest opinions about it. It's a great radio for beginners such as myself. Although I'd like to see the full CI-V command set integrated, or some more commands at least, because for my experimentation, there is no tuning command, which is really important to me. I really want to be able to tune the radio from the cat control. I really want to be able to do that, and that's really important to me, and I wish that was integrated. It can be weird with cat control. It's weird, but it's what it is. I don't think that's that fault. I think cat control is just weird in general if you don't know what you're doing, such as me. I wish that the waterfall/band scope ratio was adjustable, and I'll explain this in just a second after I power up the transceiver. And maybe some capability to change the colors of the waterfall. Again, I'll explain that in just a second. I like how it can output 20 watts even when the voltage is below 12 volts. It has a really stable power output and it's not linear to the power input. It does stable power. What it says on there is how much the max it will output, no matter what voltage. Unless you're getting around the 6 to 7 volt range, it can be buggy and it can start freaking out. Plus, you would never be operating that low. With one of the Xiegu G90 ancestors, the Xiegu X108, it had a 7-segment display type font, and I really wish the Xiegu G90 had that. I personally like the 7-segment font for the VFO instead of what is on the display. It's, in my opinion, as somebody who codes quite a bit, especially for microprocessors, it shouldn't be too difficult to change the font. But maybe that's just me. I've never dealt with ARM32 processor. I believe it's an ARM32. An ARM32 processor. So yeah. And the operation can be glitchy at times. But that's a minor. I don't have that issue a lot. So it's not super glitchy. And now I'm gonna go straight into pros and cons before turning on the radio and giving you a walkthrough of what each button does, all the inputs, outputs. Here's some of the pros, in my opinion. It is sturdy. This is a solid radio. I promise you, it is built well. It's heavy. It's really chunky. Ooh. Yeah, it is a chunky radio. It is heavy. And, yeah, it's built very nice. It has immense capabilities for its size and price. And I mean that 100%. It's frequency range, its power output, especially for this size, 20 watts is pretty good for an HF transceiver of this size. 20 watt output, it doesn't have FM without the pan adapter, which, who uses FM? But, and it goes 160 meters up to 10 meters, like I said. But it's got the waterfall display, the band scope, dual VFOs, memory, all that stuff. I think it's like 60-some channels of memory. Vox, all the normal stuff, plus CW decoder, which is really nice. And with the GSOC, it even allows you to do CW digital, like PSK31 RIDI encoding. I believe it does RIDI in PSK31. I know it does CW, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Whatever. It adds a lot more capability to this. And this is already jam-packed. I'm forgetting to mention the automatic antenna tuner. It's a great beginner radio, and I can say that. I'm a beginner, and it's really nice. Especially when I've dealt with older radios, and some nice radios at field days. It's a really nice radio. The hand microphone, which is right here, it's quite nice. Actually, it's nice clicky. And I like having all these buttons. Don't remember where I left off. Sorry, I got interrupted by a phone call. That's what happens when you're recording on a phone. Anyways, the microphone. It's nice. I like being able to manually enter the frequency. I like the RJ45 connectors. I really like how they embedded the clip, so you have to use something. I usually use the handle like that to pull it out. Whoops, messed up. I like it. It's nice to just clink, clips right in there. Nice. And it's nice and sturdy. And I like how it's hidden so it doesn't just keep coming out. I don't know how you would use that hook. I prefer the original, like little circle cylinder thing that slots into. But that's just me. I don't think I've ever seen an HF radio that has that on there. Anyways, but yeah, nice hand mic, normal hand mic. With all you can control the tuner and the lock and the up-down frequency and memory and a couple function buttons. Yeah, alright, so these function buttons are programmable in the menu. Alright, so the next thing is the crap, lost my place. Yeah, has a nice microphone, and the built-in antenna tuner can accept up to a 15:1 SWR ratio. That is really nice, and I can vouch for it. I've never tuned a 15:1, but I've tuned a pretty whack out antenna. I tuned a 40 meter antenna on 160 meters, and it was a pretty terrible SWR, over 4 to 1 SWR, and it tuned it just fine, and I made a contact. So, well, I didn't make a contact. My antenna wasn't really pointed their direction, but because I had the antenna quite high into the tree there. But either way, it tuned a 40-meter antenna to 80 meters, which is quite nice. And they were able to pick me up, but we couldn't hold the key, so I'm not going into detail on that. Anyways, it's small. People say it's small. I don't think it's, at least as far as all the videos I've seen, it's not shown how small it is. It looks big. It looks small in videos. It looks smaller in person. It's even smaller in person. This is my finger. I have a pretty small finger, alright? Yeah. Here is an audio jack. I just grabbing stuff around. It's like the VFO knob is pretty much as big as the audio jack. Like, there's the audio jack compared to the VFO knob. So yeah, it's absolutely tiny. These buttons are tiny. Here's the Allen key or whatever pouch. Oops, drop. Here's the Allen key compared to the entire radio. The Allen key is as tall as the radio itself, so it's tiny. And I like that it's tiny. Actually, I was really surprised at how small it was, and I wanted a small radio because it'd be easier to backpack around. It wouldn't be so heavy. This is a heavy radio, but it's a lot lighter than my Yaesu FT757GX that I've been carrying around. So it is small. And I put that in the pros and I put that in the cons because some people might really like that it's small and some people might hate that it's small. It's really an opinion, but you know, it has a built-in CW decoder. It's finicky. The CW decoder is finicky, but it works, and it works quite well once you get it locked onto a CW signal. Once you get it locked onto a Morse code signal, it will decode away. But it's finicky to get it locked on. It has a waterfall and a band scope. That was one of the big selling features for this for me. I was gonna get a ICOM 706 Mark IIG or whatever, and I decided against it, even though it was a little bit cheaper, like $400, and I paid $425 or $450 with shipping and everything. I paid about $450 for this, and I could have got the 706 for cheaper. So yeah, I was gonna get a 706 Mark IIG, but you know that I decided to get this because I knew that the GSOC was coming out. I didn't think it was gonna be $500. But I'm still glad that I got this instead of the 706 because the band scope and the waterfall, I swear, they are awesome. It's weird operating a radio without them. I promise you. It is, like, bizarre. Let me go on. Alright, it has a great sounding automatic gain control. It has automatic gain control off, slow, fast, and automatic. I usually keep it on slow or fast. It sounds great. Except for on WWV, where it goes like clip and then it fades out and it comes back in, so I usually turn it off or turn it on fast or automatic. It has nice meters. The meters on the screen, which you'll see in a minute when I turn it on, the meters on the screen are nice. They fluctuate. They're really responsive. It has very good Vox control. It can be extremely responsive. I mean, maybe all radios are like this, but the Vox control with the Xiegu G90 is probably one of the best Vox controls I've operated on a radio. But maybe I'm just doing it wrong, and this is just easier. It's cheap. Alright, honestly, it's cheap compared to rigs with the same capabilities by name brands. Yaesu, ICOM, Kenwood, etc. You know, Elecraft, whatever. Especially not Elecraft. To Elecraft, this thing is like absolutely penny cheap. This thing is cheap, and it's got so many capabilities, and that's why I love it so much. Now here we get into the cons, and I don't. You can even see it right here. I don't have a lot of cons. Compared to the pros, I have a lot more pros than cons. Never mind, I have about the same amount. That's just because they require a lot of detail. So if we were to read them all out here, There'd be a lot less cons and pros, but it takes up more space because I had to explain them more. Alright. First con. There isn't any popular computer SDR softwares that support this radio. And I'm being honest. That's as honest as I can. Like I said, this is an honest review. For me, there's no video, and I might just be looking at the wrong place. If you know where there is some, send them to me. I want to experiment with this radio. But there isn't any popular SDR softwares that support this radio, as far as I know. I can't find any. Alright? The CI-V serial commands aren't completely integrated, which means you cannot tune the radio from CAT, from my experimentations. Like I mentioned earlier, I couldn't get it to tune via CAT control. Maybe I have in the past, but it wasn't. It was being weird. CAT control is still iffy with this thing at best. But it's still. I'm glad that it has the feature. Only 20 watt output, and that's a pro for some people because they like operating QRP, and that's a con for people because. I'm sorry, I just realized that I walked away from the mic. I'll try to normalize that. And I realized people are like, oh yeah, you're gonna hate QRP. I like QRP. It is difficult. It is stressful. If you are trying to make a bunch of contacts and you're just not getting out there, especially if you're like me and you ain't got freaking $70 million Yagi up on your roof or out in the woods or whatever. You just got a bit of speaker wire up in a tree. It's difficult to get out, but I've made a few contacts on this, like, I don't know, like 20 now or something, and I've only been licensed general for not too long. This is a good radio. Really, really, really like it, like I've been saying. But yeah, it's only 20 watt output and makes me really want 100 watts, but I'm not prepared to pay $600 when I can pay $600 and get a whole new 100 watt radio. Yeah. Well, I mean, not brand new, but I could get a higher power radio for $600 that does the same stuff. Possibly. If you know where to look. The auto tuner freaks out sometimes. Maybe this is just me. But it seems that if I tune to, let's say I tune to 7200 and I click tune, it'll give me like a 1.8 to 1 or a 2 to 1 almost. Probably about 1.9 to 1. If I tune up and I look at if I hold down power and I look at the SWR analyzer, it will show me that, yeah, that's right, you got a high SWR, like a 1.8, 1.9 here, but like 10 kilohertz down, you have a 1 to 1. So if I tune up like 10 or 20 kilohertz, and I tune it again, and I go down 10 kilohertz, I get a 1 to 1 SWR. It's weird. Maybe it's just mine. Maybe other people are having that issue. It's, like I said, it's small. Like I said, that's a con for some people. It's a pro for others. The fit is a bit too tight. I like tight-fitting things, but the head is just a bit tight, and it scratches the paint a little bit. If you're not too careful, you have to be extremely careful not to scratch your paint, and even then, I've scratched your paint a little bit. So that's why I don't take this off too much. I'm going to take it off in this video, at the end of the video, once we go over all the ports and everything. Cheap power connector, people have explained that they don't like the power cable. I disagree. The power cable is not what the issue is. The connector is the issue. It uses this cheap Tamina connector, and they're just not the best things for the job. It uses silicone wire, so the cable is nice fuse holder. Yeah. And the key connector's on the back. That's really annoying, especially when you're using it in a backpack or something like this. The key connector is in the back, which means it uses up at least that much of your cable, which means you don't have, unless you have an extremely long audio cable or whatever, or extremely long key cable, your key is like limited. So it's annoying that it's in the back. I wish it was on the side here, because I'd say if they've got that right at the bottom, I'd say they could squeeze in an audio jack there, or squeeze one in over here, or figure out a way to put in a key connector on the front. and it takes a long time to remove the head from the main unit. And I'll have to speed it up because it's going to take a while when I take it off. And here's my final review before we get into the whole operations and everything. My final review is, should you buy it? And it even says right here, too long of a suspense. And I know you just seen the answer there, but this is too long of a suspense, so we're going to have to wait. So, should you buy it? Yes. And I'm saying that because if you are saving up for a beginner rig, or you want a small and easy to use QRP radio with lots of capabilities, or just looking for a new toy, it's a definite yes. However, since the GSOC is over $500 USD, it doesn't look like this will be replacing your 100 watt base station anytime soon, and that's with good reason, because if you're looking for a 100 watt base station, you're not in the market of the Xiegu, you're in the big name brand market now. So yeah, you should get one if you're saving up for one. If you're looking for a nice big giant radio, no, obviously you should have already considered it not whenever you noticed how small it was. Once you get the amplifier, the GSOC, the radio, the stand, the CE19 breakout, a USB sound interface, you're looking at almost $2,000 or more. And at that price, you could get a Flex, honestly, or an Anan 7000 DLE. So, this doesn't even come close to competing with any of those radios at that price range. You're better off getting a nicer radio for the money you're willing to spend on the whole entire setup. Finally, some information about this video itself. This video is not meant to be the best review, or the final say. I wanted to make this video because I wanted an honest review, an average person review. A lot of the videos I watched were they were just people who are used to reviewing big giant radios, and they're used to operating Flexes and big giant FTDX 9 millions and, RAS 500 kilowatt transmitters and all that jazz. And I'm just a dude who wanted a good radio to start off with, and this is an honest review from somebody like me, or somebody like you. And I don't own any super fancy radios. I don't have any 10 million DX contacts. I'm just a guy who wants to know if the radio is a good purchase in the real world. And that's my honest review. And after this short little break, well, it's gonna be like half a millisecond for you, and it's gonna be like a few minutes for me. We will go into the operations of the radio. So yeah, see y'all in a bit. Alright, now the video is gonna get weird because it's not scripted anymore. I didn't script this part. I didn't want to script this part. So this is going into the operations and everything about the hardware itself. So here's the radio, and I can even kind of adjust it. I don't know if you can see that. It's about, I'll put it up on my grid here. It's about 10 inches long. So it's about 2 inches thick. So yeah, and that's 10 inches long with the handles on it. About 2 inches thick, 10 inches long, about that. Alright, let's go over the back first. On the back, we have DC input and this grounding knob that people really like. And I mean, it's nice having a big knob, but I don't know if it's the best like people say it is. But anyways, nice grounding knob, I guess. Bad power connector, but DC input. At least the power connector on the side of the radio doesn't feel janky or wobbly. It just feels pretty good, but still wrong connector for this application. The accessory port, which is for your CE19 breakout or homemade accessory cables or whatever. Your in-phase and quadrature output, straight out of the mixers, I guess. I don't think there's any, whatchamacallit. I don't think there's any protection, so really watch out if you're messing with that. That's your serial port for updating the firmware on the back half. I don't think it has any comm control or any special features other than upgrading the firmware for the back half. And your keyer port, which is in the back here, and your antenna connection, your UHF connector. I would say SO239 or PL259, but I don't remember which one it is. I don't want those people being like, oh, it's this, oh, it's that, you know. Alright, on the side of the radio, you have your headphones, which is really nice that it's not automatically selected. Actually, it'd kind of be nice if it did automatically detect headphone input, but you could also set it to be output instead. But you can press the volume knob in to swap between headphones or speakers, and we'll go over that in a bit. But yeah, a headphone jack. I don't know why it has a little user thing. They call it the self-defined interface or whatever, the SDI. Which is weird why there's a little user symbol, but whatever. Basically, it's used for cat control and upgrading the firmware on the front half, because these are pretty much two separate processors, and they're just connected together via serial or whatever. Alright, over the front, here's the review of the front. We have our power button, volume knob, and all the knobs are rotary encoders, clicky ones, with buttons. So, clicking that swaps between speaker or headphones. Pressing function and clicking the volume button, that goes into Vox settings. Down here is your programmable knob. Clicking it changes the filters. Rotating it can be set to whatever you want. I have it set to 100 kilohertz step because I find it really useful. Function, pressing that, I don't think it does anything. Holding this opens up the menu to set that. Right here you have your preamp and attenuator. So you just press that. There's no function button for that. Your compressor, noise blanker, your filter low pass, filter high pass, or, you know, filter low pass setting, filter high pass setting. You know, compressor, noise blanker, automatic gain control setting, memory modes, that takes you in and out of memory mode, channel mode, or whatever. On the top here, you have your mode selection, which changes between, you know, mode CW, narrow, serial, narrow, wide, lower, or single sideband, AM. So yeah, then you also have your band buttons here, which, you know, goes all up and down. I think you can even change band allocation from ham band to just all bands or whatever. Function button, which I think if you hold it down also goes into the menu. Memory write button, AB button, which swaps between A and B VFO. Tuner, press it once enables or disables the tuner out of the RF circuit. Holding it, on the other hand, that actually, if you hold the tuner, it, you know, tunes. Power, pressing that opens up a little thing where the filters are, and it allows you to scroll and set the power from anything from 1 watt to 20 watts. Holding power opens up an SWR scanner where it'll have a graph with your SWR and a frequency scale or whatever. That's your keyer button. Holding that down will replace the waterfall with a CW decoder box. Pressing it will change all your key settings like QSK or, you know, full break-in, on-off, all that stuff. Lock. Pressing that changes the brightness. Holding it locks the knobs and stuff, so that way you don't accidentally change your frequency or anything. On the other side, you also have your RJ45 port for your microphone connection. Sorry for me stuttering and everything. It's just that's how it happens when I don't have a script. Maybe I should script things more often. Anyways, so yeah, so now I will plug it in and let y'all see that. Alright, so I've got my microphone, I've got my power cable, and I don't have an antenna in here yet, so we won't do any power stuff yet. I would do a power test, but I'll leave that for a future video, because I don't have a watt meter with me currently. But, so now I'll just plug that in, and which is the power connector. And now we'll plug in our microphone, which isn't required for operation. Alright, plug that in. So I'll set that to the side. Now I can click the power button, and it comes on like that. You can see we got 11.9 volts, which is about right. This is running a little bit, you know, undervolted. we're on 40 meters. And you can see up here at the top where all the icons are, we have a, let me move down the camera here. We have the, it looks like a little tower there, or a little power line. That's our, or a little antenna symbol. Oops, sorry, you can't see that. Let me see if I turn off the light here and press that and adjust brightness if I can. Let me just type it. All right. So if I click the, or if you can see there, well, if it would just focus, it doesn't want to focus with this. Turn the light back on. All right, you can see there's a tuner lamp. There's a little microphone icon, which is compressor. So the little antenna icon means that the tuner is in circuit. If I press the tune button, tuner goes out of circuit. Press it again, goes back into circuit. Right there, we have the compressor icon, our automatic gain controls on fast, and our voltage. I wish that the voltage, that there was a setting that you could enable voltage colors. So, like, if it's below 8 volts, it would be red. If it's from, like, 8 to, like, 11 volts, it'd be orange. Or 11 to 12 volts, or maybe, you know, different, power ranges would change the color of the voltage readout. Right there is our mode, lower sideband, and it says that we're in VFO A, and on the bottom there we have VFO B, and we're on 7.603, and our little volume indicator. As you see, if I push the volume button, it goes to the headphones, symbolized by the little headphone icon. And we can also click the AB button to swap to our other VFO, and it says V-B for VFO-B. Pushed again, and it swaps them back around. We have a really clear and easy to read S meter. It goes all the way up to an S9 plus 60, so 60 over S9, 60 decibels over S9. If you see a signal like that, they are super strong. There's our filter. You can clearly tell the filter there, and some identification of the filter type. Little SWR meter, 1, 2, 3 to 1 with an infinity logo, and you can see our waterfall and our band scope. Now here comes the part where I was talking about I wish you could change the waterfall to band scope ratio. What that means is, see all this band scope up here? I don't really necessarily want to see that. I wish I could shrink that down and have more waterfall, because I like waterfall more than band scope. They did a good combination, but I like having the waterfall. Yeah, and for some reason on some frequencies, there's that. It doesn't even show up on the waterfall unless you're on the frequency. Yeah, it's weird. And you see some harmonics showing up of it. So yeah, but whatever. Also, the color thing. I wish you could change the colors, because some people don't like blue. Some people like a darker blue. Some people like a oranger color or a greener color. Wish you could change that, maybe so it's like a gray or a purple or a red or something. You know. Like I say, you can hold this and set the user define. So it's going to be frequency 100 step, FFT scale, key speed, you know, power level, squelch level. Now, the exit button, if I push exit... Oh. Alright, for whatever reason, this button's exit. I always thought that button would be exit. Alright, anyways, I guess the exit button does work. You can click save on this one or exit on that one. Alright. We can also press the band. Change bands. Or we can change modes. Or we can push the memory button and go into memory. And that's about it. It's got pretty much everything else you would say. If you wanted to tune it, you'd hold that in and you'd hear click, 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 and it would say tuned, or it would say TX error. You can hold down power to do a SWR scan, which I would do, but I don't want to, because I don't want to fry it because there's no antenna connected. You can also press the key, hold down the key button to show up a little menu, show up the little decode, so it would, decode if I had, if I was receiving a signal. Or it's even more tricky, but if you had a key connected, it would decode that, which might as well maybe try connecting one real quick. Let me try that real quick. Alright, bam, I got my little key. Do y'all want to see a video on that? If you want to see a video on that, I will show it. Yeah, a little tiny clone of the Pico paddle I designed. Really simple. I'll make a full video on how to make it and everything. Might even make the public files. Make the files public. Alright. Oops, I'm not in semi-break-in. So, to do that, we press key. Oop, I don't want to change the speed. I like 15. I can do 20. Mode B. I was like, I'm not such a fan of the keyer because it doesn't have like that memory. But you just have to set it to iambic mode B, not A. I didn't know that was a thing. That shows you how much of a beginner or novice I am. Now I can plug that in and oops. And crank up the speed a little bit. Let's do 18. Alright. We could also press function key and change the volume, so we can press key again and change the tone. Alright, and that's the two options in the function there. Like I said, the lock changes the brightness, and you can hold it, and it shows a little lock icon, and everything is locked. Hold it again. We can press the power button once, and the screen turns off until you transmit or do anything, and it'll come back on. Hold it, and it turns it off. Turns it back, and you can press it and turns it back on, and it will say your call sign there. Hold on, let me show you. Call sign. You can set it to do that by holding down the AGC button, I believe. Oh wait, no, that does that. So holding down the, yeah, as you can see, you scroll through it and click the button. Anyways, so yeah, you can do that. The memory write button writes to memories and all that. So yeah, preamp and attenuator, and then off, compressor on and off. And I don't like messing with these things. You can turn the noise blanker on and off. I haven't tested it. It works. Well, I have tested it. It works, but I've never had such an extreme thing that I've needed it before. Automatic gain control, automatic, off, slow, fast. Leave it on automatic. Yeah, that's a really basic explanation. We can go over to the menu real quick. Handle, up, down. That's interesting. The way they named it. That's the up-down buttons on the microphone. Handle F1, that's the function 1 button. That's your preamp and attenuator, or you can change it to split, compressor, automatic gain control, whatever. I don't use them, so. F2 can be split, noise blanker, compressor, automatic gain control, preamp / attenuator. I might set it to that. Background, LCD, background brightness, or whatever. I think it was on 82. I don't know. Auxiliary input volume. That's the AFN, I believe. Auxiliary output. That's the AF out on the accessory port on the back. RCLK tune. Don't know. There's a really good manual online made by Connect Systems. If I remember to, I'll try to link it down below, but I might not remember, so don't hold it on that. Band stack mode, hand bands or full bands. I don't really know what that does. I think that just changes whether you want to go between hand bands or just full radio bands or whatever. On-off beep. I like having the beep, even though there's not much that uses a beep. And then finally, it gets the version. I wish you could click the button to get the version because it does lock it up for a minute. Or it doesn't. By lock it up, I mean. There we go. Alright. By lock it up, I meant it doesn't, like, It doesn't respond to anything. It'll still, you know, do the radio stuff because it's just the head that's freaking out. But it can't send serial communication asking for the version number and do the whole, you know, all the tuning and volume control and everything. So, yeah, over this handle again, like I said, channel lock, tuner / call. I don't know what call is. XFC, memory write, up and down, programmable. Band selections, so you can select bands like 80 meters, 160 meters, 80 meters, 40 meters. Looks like, oh, they're saying them by frequency, 20 meter, or what would that be? 12 meters? No, it wouldn't be 12 meters. It'd be 24, 30 meters. I don't know. 20 meters. You know, all that stuff. All the way up to 10 meters. Now, there's also 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters on there. But I'm guessing that's just because they wanted these handles to be. Dang it, not handles. McDonald's. Yeah, that. No, these microphones to be swappable between radios. So that is my review on the Xiegu G90. I think you should buy it. It's a great radio. There is Mars mods you can do to it. Do it at your own risk. If you want me to do a video on this paddle and how to build it and all that crap, they're really simple. There's just a spring, a bolt, and a few 3D printed parts, and one of these little audio jacks that are really cheap online. So yeah, if you want me to make a video on that.